Hi, in this video we're going to factorise a cubic expression where there's a common factor we can factor out first. Now what makes this a cubic is that you've got an x cubed term and you might have other lower powers as well, like x squared, x, etc. Now, as I've done in previous videos on this skill, I've always said, always spot any common factor first. Is there a factor which is common to all your terms here? Well, I can see these numbers are all even. You can take a factor of 2, but they're also actually all multiples of 8. So I can factor out 8. And I can also see that x cubed, x squared, and x all have a common factor of x. So we can factorise that out. Let's open a bracket. And then we say, okay, 8x multiplied by what is this 8x cubed here? Well, it's x squared. And then we say 8x multiplied by what is the minus 24x squared? Well, 8 times negative 3 is negative 24, and the x times x will give you the x squared in expansion. And then finally, we've got 8x multiplied by what is the 16x? Well, it's just times plus 2. So I've got this, and then once you've factorised out this 8x in the front, then whatever you have in the brackets, you can see if there's any other factorisation techniques we might be able to also use. Now I can see this as just a classic quadratic expression, so we can use our usual way of factorising that. Remember, if there's no number in front of the x squared, so it's just 1x squared implicitly, then we find two numbers which add to give the middle number of minus 3, so the number in front of the x, the coefficient of the x, we say, and multiply to give this last number the constant term. So what are those numbers? Well, it's minus 3 and minus 2. They add to give minus 3 and times give 2. So what we do is we do two brackets, and then we have x as the first of each bracket because it's a quadratic in x. And then we said those two numbers were minus 2 and minus 1. So we put those as a second number of each bracket, either way around, so we get that. And yeah, that is the final answer. We can't do any better than that. And by the way, you might have been tempted to sort of like have a second bracket like that because you had these brackets originally and then factorise into this, into two brackets to get that. But those brackets are superfluous, they're not needed, so we do not need to write them. It's best to have as few brackets as possible whilst keeping the expression as clear as possible.